Hello, Rebel Nation. This is Tom Spousta, Assistant Sports Editor for the Review Journal. I'm here with Mark Anderson, the beat writer for the UNLV Rebels. Let's get right to it, Mark. They're coming off 2 losses. They have Air Force coming up, and they had a major injury to the running back, one of their key weapons this year.
Right. Yeah, Lexington Thomas went out with a head injury in his last game, so the question is he in the concussion protocol? That's something Tony Sanchez will address later today at his weekly news conference. If he is, I can't imagine he'll be ready for Friday's game against Air Force. If it's not the concussion, then you expect him to play. But
what's the feeling on Lexington's concussion? These things can linger. These things can clear up. What is the feeling around the Rebels, and what indication, judging from the hit, that you get on this?
It looked pretty bad. I mean, he came off the field holding his head, or with his head down, so it looked really bad. Now it could have been maybe he got a neck sprain or something. That's possible too. Tony Sanchez wasn't willing to speculate after the game, and he shouldn't. He hadn't had a chance to talk to the doctors yet and find out what was going on. So if it's a neck sprain, then I don't know what, I guess it depends how severe it is. But if it's a concussion, you never know. Look what happened to Marc-Andre Fleury. He was out for 2 months or a month and a half, whatever it was.
Right.
So, I don't know that Lexington's had one before. I don't remember him getting one. So usually with the first one, you would expect him to be back within a couple of weeks. But you never know. Each player is different. Each concussion is different. I mean, he could linger for weeks too, or maybe be back, in 2 weeks when they play at San Jose State.
It's such a safety issues, and it's such a dangerous time now in football. They're doing their best they can to stay on top of it. If Lexington can't go, who comes in?
Well, I think Charles Williams would be the starter if it's not him. Charles Williams 2 years ago set the freshman rushing record, so he can get it done. He's a really good back. They got Xavier Campbell behind him. They got Evan Owens. Evan Owens did some good things, I thought, in the last game at Utah State. His first run was like 29 yards, so he can do pretty well. I suspect it'd be kind of a committee approach. I can see them, especially Charles Williams and Xavier Campbell, splitting carries. Xavier Campbell's a much different back. He's really big, real physical. He seems like he gets 5 yards every time he touches the ball. I think they probably should use him more anyway. It gives him more of a physical presence. So that's most likely what they're doing. Then they got to hope that Max Gillum at quarterback progresses. He threw 3 touchdown passes in the second half, but against reserves. He's doing that against Air Force's starters would be a different matter, but he's got to build on that.
So Max Gillum, how has he progressed so far? I know he's played well in 2 halves of 2 games, which we got to, if you're a Rebel fan, you got to put a full game together in instead of 2 halves. Has he gained any momentum? Is he getting better protection in the pocket in your mind? It seems like he's still kind of running around back there. Yeah,
I don't think he's getting great protection. I think the offensive line struggled this season. I think they've taken a step back, which has surprised me. I thought this would be one of the better lines in the league, and they've struggled to run block and pass protect. Especially run blocking, they did okay when Armani's back there, but that shows how good Armani is.
Exactly.
So, he's got ability. I mean, you don't throw 3 touchdown passes in a half if you don't have some sort of ability. So he's got skills, but he's inexperienced. He's not used to being under that kind of pressure, and I don't think he's handled it very well. And and you can't read too much into what he does against second and third stringers. What does he do against the starters? That's where the problem is. But I do think he's going to get better. Whether he gets significantly better this season, I don't know. But I think he's got enough where they can work with, but it's still, to do it against the starters, he's not quite there yet.
He threw 3 touchdown passes in the 1 half. The issue on the other side of the ball, however, 109 points, I believe it is, in 2 games.
Right.
What are they going to do to address that? Air Force brings in more of a option-oriented, kind of more traditional offense. Can they step up?
Well, that's the thing. And they face Air Force on a short week. You never want to face Air Force on a short week.
Right.
It's such a hard offense to prepare for. It's just their defense is struggling. And the one thing, and I hate to go back to Armani, but the one thing he did was he controlled the clock. They were averaging about 350 yards rushing when he was the quarterback. That means the offense is on the field for a lot, keeping their own defense off the field. That's not happening now. The defense is on the field for a lot of snaps. 2 weeks ago against New Mexico, they were on the field for 82 snaps. That's a lot of snaps.
Maybe that's the strategy. Use the offense to keep the defense off the field to give UNLV a chance.
Well, and it was the strategy before. I mean, that was part of it, for sure. But you're seeing once they're out there getting a lot of snaps. It's really difficult, and teams are beating them downfield. Their pass defense right now is really struggling.
Big chunk plays.
Big chunk plays, yeah.
Right.
I mean, they had, Utah State had an 80-yard touchdown pass. Granted, there was a confusion about whether the whistle should have been blown or not. The corner thought the play was dead. It wasn't. So, I mean, that was kind of a weird play, but there was no whistle blowing. You got to keep playing. 2
bad losses. What's the feel for the chances? Well, for a bowl game, are very slim at this point.
Right.
Can they? They're 12.5 point underdogs, I believe, to Air Force.
That sounds about right.
Around there. Mm-hmm. So can we call this a must-win game?
Oh, it is. Oh, it definitely is. I mean, if they win this game, I mean, it will put life back in their season.
Yeah.
Especially when they go to San Jose State the following week, you got to figure, well, then their chances of winning there are pretty good. Suddenly they're 4-4. It brings the bowl back into conversation. I think right now it's premature to talk about the postseason. Right now they just got to survive.
If they can get back to 500 at 4-4, I think they would consider that
It'd be huge. It'd be huge.
Successful point of that season if they could get to 4-4.
Absolutely. Yeah. So. I think right now UNLV should not be talking postseason because no one's buying it, right?
Right.
But if they do happen to beat Air Force, then you could say, all right, they should beat San Jose State. 4-4 is realistic. It's still a tough November schedule after that. They'd have to find 2 wins in there. That would not be easy to do. You would, when you're looking before the season, you were thinking they probably need to be 5-3 going into November.
Going into right.
So best they'll be 4-4. So it's going to be real. If they get to 4-4, it's going to be really hard. I think right now you just got to go week to week if you're UNLV. You don't even talk about the post. You don't talk about it publicly. I'm serious because the public's not buying it.
Right.
So and I'm not sure. And with the players, I don't think you want them thinking about it. You want them thinking Air Force, and then after Air Force, I'm thinking San Jose State, and they go from there. I mean, I know it's the old coach's cliche, but that's the way they got to treat it.
They have a young quarterback waiting in the wings who is now the backup quarterback. Kenyon Oblad, who sent all kinds of state records in Nevada. The plan is to redshirt him.
Right.
When is the timeline? When is that going to happen?
Well, they can play him up to 4 games
right.
and keep the redshirt. And so you figure if Armani is on track to come back for the final 2 games, Oblad can play the next 4 games and he'd be fine. Mm-hmm. I think right now they would rather not play him. I think they feel like Max Gillum gives them their best chance to win. Oblad probably needs more work in the weight room. I'm not sure physically he's ready for the demands of this level of football. Physically, he's pretty good. I see him out in practice. I've seen him out in practice running the scout team offense, beating the first team defense.
Yeah.
So he's got talent.
A good sign.
He's got talent, yeah. So I just think the coaches are really hesitant to put him out there. And, Gillen did enough last game. I think they feel like they can stick with him again. Now, if they find themselves in a hole against Air Force, who knows? I think they'd be more apt to put Oblad in, but their preference, I would think, would be not to.
And the update on Lexington will be later today, right?
That's right. And Armani Rogers probably tomorrow.
For his...
Just to see where he's in the recovery process.
And it was 4 to 6 weeks, right? Was his initial...
Roughly 6 weeks.
Yeah. So there's a chance he could be back. So, well, for all updates regarding the UNLV Rebels as they head into the game against Air Force, read Mark Anderson at reviewjournal.com and in the Las Vegas Review Journal.